Now, the question is, am I live? It says excellent connection, live, 17 seconds. But I don't see nothing. How does this work? Share and stream. But I'm not, it says I'm live, but I don't see shit. That doesn't make any sense. What's going on? Oh. Wow, I'm just really delayed, I guess. So is this live? Is this for real? Hello, video on demand people. Let's see if I can get the Discord mods to confirm or deny. Just around the corner from the light of day. Oh, yeah, people are here. Okay, everybody be cool. Be cool. People are here. We got to put some music on, right? I hope everybody's doing well. I see. Oh, good. Maldubious is here. Thank goodness that the mod team. The mods. Thank God it's the mods. Nicholas Barber. Yeah. Well, it's funny because I did two videos this week. One of them was about how short videos and the idea that I try to make sure the videos are as long as they need to be. It's time to draw steel. Oh, that reminds me. Holy shit. I'm glad you said that. A friend of mine texted me and I can't put this off because if I do, this is Thursday. Holy shit. I'm sorry. Holy shit. I saw this message while I was driving. And failed to respond. Yeah. Stand by. A good friend of mine. Holy shit. Matt. I got your message while I was driving and I thought I'll respond to it when I'm home, and I forgot, ! I hope you're doing well, sir, ! Oh God, I'm such a wanker. It's just funny seeing people here from Twitch. Because it's like if most of the people here would normally be hanging out on Twitch, then we don't have to do things on YouTube. The reason I stream on Twitch is because nobody knows I do it, and so we get really small audiences, which I like. We get like 300, maybe sometimes 600 people watching on Twitch, and I'm like, that's about right. But when I stream on YouTube, traditionally when I stream on YouTube, way more people than that show up, and it just gets a lot. So I like the fact that Twitch is harder to find. Discovery on Twitch is terrible, and they automatically delete the streams. So there were a bunch of people after the me talking about what makes a good video, or a good video length and why, which is also about what makes a good video. It's also about composition and argument, rhetoric. People were like, but I like story time with Uncle Matt. And I'm like, that's what Twitch is for. there's so much of it. There's an endless supply of it. What's up, Fupa Chalupa? What's up, Mirai the Sorcerer? Right? Elliot Canada, it has people's like actual names and shit. You don't say, what a great question. Reverend Doctor. He's a doctor, Reverend, not a Reverend Doctor. Abu Haram says, I've got some pretty complicated subclasses I've been creating, and I want feedback from other homebrewers, but I don't want my ideas stolen. Well, where should I share? People don't steal ideas like that, man. That's not how it works. No one cares. Nobody cares. I know it's heartbreaking, but ideas are a dime a dozen, and you can't protect your ideas. The only thing that matters is your capacity to execute on those ideas. That's it. Every game I've ever worked on, including big, huge AAA games that people were spending hundreds of millions of dollars on, we thought we had something new and different. And then in the 4 years it takes to make a AAA game, some other game would come out that was kind of vaguely the same as ours. And people would be like, oh no. And they would freak out. And I'd be like, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Their game is we will outcompete them. Whatever the idea is, it's almost certainly not completely original. And it's your ability to execute on that idea that makes it yours. Not the idea itself. Ideas are free and therefore worthless. It is the ability to execute on them. your ability to write this idea out, your ability to take this idea and turn it into your design. And that's what's going to make it stand out. So the ideas are so common that there's more of them than there is any demand. So I don't think there's any danger that people are going to steal your idea. That is a very wrong way of thinking about it. What's up, Taiwan? The Twitch app is trash as well. Yeah, good. Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, that's why people don't like it. That's why I'm there. Yeah, notifications are always, but I think notifications are bad everywhere. I think that, I think there's always, it doesn't matter where I stream, people are pissed that they didn't get an alert. We should put some music on. Music nonstop. Somebody asked something about what am I excited by? Simon Dean, what gets me most excited to develop in the RPG right now? Oh gosh. I mean, everything. I mean, this is such a cliche answer, but everything's exciting. Looking at the design of the sensor and the troubadour and the null is fucking cool as shit. We're going to have a meeting next week. So I guess this is something that's really exciting to me. We're going to have a meeting. You guys want the cutting edge shit that no one knows about except the devs at MCDM, because some of these ideas are really dumb and we're not going to do them. But they're cool. We're going to have a meeting about whether or not what the 9th class in our game is going to be. So what is it? It's Fury, Shadow, Tactician, Elementalist, Conduit, Sensor, Troubadour, Null, right? And then what's this one? It's not easy to do. And it's either going to be the Talent, which we already released a version of that for 5th edition. Our version is going to have to be real different because a lot of the things we liked about the design of the Talent are unique to the way 5th edition works. Our game doesn't work that way. So we probably aren't going to use Strain. Even though it's a really cool mechanic, it's sort of the opposite of how stuff's supposed to work in our game. It's a negative resource. It's the only negative resource we had in the game. So we're probably going to make the Talent work like all the other classes, where they have a normal everyday resource, probably called Clarity or something like that. I might come up with a better name. Well, at that point, they're just another spellcaster. And it's cool that we already have an entire finished PDF's worth of super cool abilities for them. And there's like 5 subclasses in the 5th edition Talent product. So that's nice. That makes us feel like, well, easy, just convert that shit over. But at that point, it's just another spellcaster like the Elementalist, asterisk. And so I said, should we not be talking about the 9th class being the Summoner? Because that was one of the classes that really got us excited to work on this game in the first place. Because we had the minion design from 5th edition sitting in our pocket. We all liked minions from 4th edition, but the idea of a monster in 5th edition that only has 1 hit point doesn't make sense with that design. Because there's spells like Sleep, right? Where he's like, well, how would that work? Would it just instantly knock out all the minions, 1 spell? And is it worth 1 spell slot to... And so James had to come up with some original design for 5th edition, and I think he knocked it out of the park. People really like the minion design from Flea Mortals. But again, our game doesn't work like that. We have squinions. We don't have classic minions. We have squads, right? And this has to do with the action economy. It's this interesting, really, I think, fascinating intersection between the minion design and our goals to balance the action economy in a way that I'm not sure they have been in previous tactical RPGs like this, or at least certainly D20 fantasy games. So the notion is that if there's a monster, monsters have an encounter value, they have points. You buy them with points. And a monster that is worth about as much as a hero, that's just a normal creature and they can do the normal things. And you can have monsters that are worth multiple heroes. And those are probably a solo monster or a leader, action-oriented monsters, that kind of thing. But then you've got monsters that are worth less, in some cases, much less than a hero. Well, how does that work with the action economy? Because now you could have 5 heroes in a party and 15 bad guys, zombies or skeletons or rat dudes or whatever. Well, does that mean they're going to go 15 times as often as the heroes? That sucks. And there's a certain amount of it's really hard to balance a game. Even if you say they only do this much damage, it's so little. It's like, yeah, but now you've just made it more tedious, right? Because not only do I have 15 actions I have to manage, none of them really do much. And wow, is that fun? And so what we do is, if you are worth much less than a hero in point value as a monster, we just bundle you into a squad. And squads are treated like a single creature, basically. There's some exceptions. You move them separately so they can get flanking and stuff like that, but they share one big pool of hit points. So, if this says this minion has 8 stamina, right? That means if I put 4 in a squad, that squad has 32 stamina, and you just, if you take 4 damage, nothing happens. If I take another 6 damage, okay, you killed one of these guys, and 2 more damage went into the pool. So now it's only going to take 6 damage to kill the next one. So they share one pool of hit points or stamina. They make one attack roll. And the reason we were excited for the summoner is because we thought we had cracked the minion design for 5th edition. So we had this in our back pocket, so to speak. It'll be easy. It'll be easy. This will be fun. The idea of the summoner fantasy is you control an army. In one sense or another. And one of the classic archetypes that we think is going to be a subclass would be the necromancer, right? We really wanted to deliver on that necromancer fantasy. Been talking about it ever since the first video, the announcement video where we talk about the game. Well, and this comes back to we had cracked the problem of monsters that are easy to kill, right? We can do that. We've got squinions now, squads full of minions. And it was tricky because we played the game 2 Wednesdays ago. And even I was so frazzled because I was trying to put all these characters together at the last minute. Matt O'Driscoll was running, and there was me and most of the folks from the Chain of Acheron were getting together and trying out the new game. This is their first exposure for most of them to the new game. And a couple of us were getting frustrated because we were looking for minion clearing abilities on our character sheet. Right. And stuff like area effect and stuff like that, because we were still thinking old minions, 4E minions, 5E minions. And after most of the combat was done, I was like, God, after all the captains were dead and there were just a bunch of minions, and we were like, are we going to have to slog through these guys? I'm like, guys, I forgot. That's not how it works, man. You don't have to look for some area effect or this whirlwind attack that does damage to multiple. No. They share pools of stamina. So just use your normal abilities on them. Go wade in there with your normal dope ass stuff. Use your 3 Fury or 5 Fury ability. And as soon as I said that, Brock, a friend of mine, works at Turtle Rock Studios as a programmer, is like, oh. And it's like the light went on in his head. And on his next action, first of all, he critted, so he gets an extra action, which was epic. His next time he goes, his shadow goes across the battlefield, crits, gets more movement from his extra action, and just completely evaporates 2 entire squads of minions. And it was like, yeah, we got that. Now we get it. Oh, this is cool. So you ask what I'm excited for. I'm excited to find out which it's going to be. Is it going to be the talent or the summoner? Because we only have room for one and really time to develop one. We're excited by the design of the summoner, or we're excited by the ideas of the summoner, but we haven't actually prototyped it yet. And everybody on the team was like, now that we know how minions work, is it going to take me half an hour to take my turn because I have 5 squads of minions? If I only have 1 squad of minions, does that still feel like I'm controlling an army? And I said, hang on a minute. Wait, hang on. Minions can have captains, and lots of monsters can be a captain. You could have a bunch of goblin minions and orc captains, no problem. And each monster, if it can be a captain, it has an ability that says captain : and it's like, if I've got minions with me, I get to do this cool thing, or these minions get to do this cool thing. And you attach them. You attach the minions to, or they attach the captain to the minions, and they run around and they behave like one thing. And I was like, hang on a minute. What if the necromancer, let's use the classic archetype, what if the necromancer conjures undead, but attaches them to the other heroes? And they're yours now, right? On my necromancer turn, I can still sacrifice any of my minions, doesn't matter who they belong to power up my cool undead, necromantic spells. And on my turn, I can act and I can control the squad I control. But on your turn, when you go, you get to control the squad I gave you. And there could be defensive squads where if somebody attacks you, you can put one of your zombies in the way and they absorb the attack. There could be offensive squads where when I make an attack, I get a bonus based on all the minions near me, right? There could be all sorts of cool stuff like that. And when I said that, it seemed like everybody on the team was like, yeah, it could work that way. That's actually pretty good because you kind of get the best of both worlds. You're not overburdening one player with this many actions because I've got all of these minions to control, but I still have a whole army of minions out there if I play my cards right, and I can use them as my own resource. So that's something I'm super excited about right now. That was a long answer. That was a long answer to a short question. I have to turn the air conditioning on because it's actually going to get kind of warm in here. Morgan Freeman Sheehy says, can't stick around, but the guy we got running our draw steel playtests says, y'all cooked. Greatest RPG of all time were his words. It's a little early. It's a little, let's not overburden this game with expectations. I did see that they've got the world's greatest, the world's greatest role-playing game is on the top of the cover of the 2024 5th edition Player's Handbook. And we were talking about that and about the use of that phrase, we being MCDM, the use of that phrase, the world's greatest role-playing game. And I said, we should just have our game. By the way, if I haven't shown you, you're going to love this. Take our game, and the Heroes book should say at the top, the world's most dangerous role-playing game. I don't know why. That was just the most punk thing I could think of. Also slightly ridiculous, but also fun. Hey, if you were one of the hey everybody, Matt Colville here, hi. Shop now. If you were one of the people that ordered the Ajax edition of the game, where you get the Heroes book and the Monster book, and you get the DM screen and dice and a whole bunch of other cool tchotchkes, this is the box it will be coming in. Look at this thing. It's huge. It's massive. And it'll be magnetized and it will open. But look at how dope this sword is. That looks like a Goal sword, doesn't it? Doesn't that look like ancient Goal swords? Probably got some like pro demon shit in it. Yeah. God, it's gorgeous, especially in this light. I don't know if you can see that it's got this cool iridescent effect on it. Ajax edition. So you can see, there's another copy. There's nothing in here right now. This is just a mock-up. Well, it's not a mock-up. It's a real prototype. But you can see it at Gen Con. It's at the top of the escalator. Did I miss the... Frank Noller says, good morning. Hello. Good morning, Frank. Good morning. Your recent video about this will be short got Frank thinking. Have I, meaning Matt, ascended from the plane of YouTubing for fun to only YouTubing if you will affect change? Anytime in the past I've tried to YouTube for fun, the audience made it clear that they did not want that from me. The YouTube audience is very picky, and they are finicky. And so there was a video I uploaded once that had, as an example of a conversation I had with a coworker once, had a little like sketch in it, right? Where I played the coworker and I recreated the conversation we had, and people fucking hated it. They were like, no, none of that comedy stuff. Don't do that. And I was like, comedy stuff. I was just telling a story that I would have told anyway, but I just role played it a little, right? And people really, really, really didn't like it. And I pulled that video down and re-uploaded it. So I've only ever done it. I've only ever done it because it is fun for me to think that I might affect how people think about things. Like I didn't start the YouTube channel because I started a YouTube channel for two reasons. One, I wanted to see if I could do it. I wanted to see if I could figure out YouTube. I had a blog, and once the blog was regularly getting 100,000 views a week, I stopped. I felt like, okay, I did that. And then I had a podcast, a movie podcast with a good friend of mine, David. And once we got the podcast to the point where we had produced a couple of episodes that I thought were really good, that could have been like on NPR. The audio quality was excellent. The topic was interesting. The discussion was interesting. It was well edited. All the us going in circles, I cut all that out. Once we had a couple of those, I was like, okay, I did that. I figured that out. And then I was like, well, what about YouTube? YouTube, there were people I followed on YouTube like Marquez Brownlee, Hank Green, John Green. And I was like, I could, that would be fun to try. And so I thought, what could I do? What could I talk about on YouTube? And I wanted to find a topic that would be evergreen, meaning that the videos would always be useful. Because one of the things I noticed about YouTubers, like tech YouTubers, and I like tech. I'm a huge technophile. Is that their videos have a shelf life of about 3 days. You know what I mean? There's always a new phone, or there's always a new whatever, which is good for them. It means there's an endless supply of content. I didn't really want to do that. I never imagined that I was going to be on any kind of treadmill like that. That was not, I was only ever going to do YouTube as a hobby. Just like all the other stuff we just talked about. I was only ever going to do that as a hobby. And so I was like, wait a minute. And this happened in real life where I would be running D&D for people at Turtle Rock Studios working on Evolve. And they loved it. They wouldn't shut up about it, but none of them wanted to run. And I could not figure out why. Well, I think in reality, a better question would be, why has anyone ever wanted to run? Why did you want to run, Matt, when you were 15? I'm like, oh, when I think about why, I'm like, oh, all those reasons are gone now. So, okay. And when I would talk to people I knew, players of mine who I thought had it in them to be a DM, absolutely. Why, you got to get behind the screen. They would be like, oh, no, I can't do what you do. And they imagined it as being unbelievably complicated. That was certainly the impression I gave when I was behind the screen, that it was unbelievably complicated. And I remember my friend Wes, who is, he's a senior programmer, and I think has pretty good design chops. If that dude, when he thinks about design, he thinks like a designer. He, at one point, I had run for him. I was running for a different group of people. He was there late at night. It was like, 11 o'clock at night, not unusual for senior programming people to be at work late. And he walks by the conference room, which is like a big fishbowl. We called it the fishbowl because there's one whole wall of this room is just glass. You can just see what's going on in there. And he's like, oh, they're playing D&D. So he comes and hangs out. And I'm like, come sit over here. And he goes, all right. And he comes and sits on my side of the screen and he sees my notes. He's literally picking them up and reading my notes. And he's like, is this it? And I was like, yeah, man. And he goes, well, shit, I can do this. I was like, yeah. And those moments, there wasn't any one, but those moments made me think I should make more Dungeon Masters. I should just explain to people this game is fun to run. It's easy. It's a lot easier to run than people think. It is not hard to run. It's not hard to run. It might be hard to run to a certain level of quality. It might be hard to run a certain kind of game, but actually getting behind the screen and running is fun. That's why we do it. It is fun. It's not work. It doesn't feel like homework. And when it does, then you're doing something wrong. And so I started a YouTube channel and I did it at the right time. Basically, I got really fucking lucky. And that's what happened. So I never imagined running the game would go on literally forever. It would either work, in which case people would be like, oh, is that it? I can do that. Cool. A plus. And then I would move on to something else, which I have done. And so things went basically as well as I could have hoped for them to go. There was at least one, if not two now, generations of player who have come up with my videos as one of the cornerstones of their philosophy on gaming. And the videos still do really well. We still get new subscribers every month. It's awesome. So yeah, I've only ever made videos when I had an idea for one. But obviously when I started out, I had all of this experience, no videos. So what happened? There you go. So I still got a couple of ideas for videos, and every time I run, which is almost never now, but that it's going up. Every time I run, I have ideas and stuff like that. I had an idea when I ran the demo of our game back in like January, where I kind of did a shorthand adventure. What I did was, instead of playing out for real all the moments that were the plot points in this game, I just asked the players what happened and what they did and why. Like the Hawk Lords see you guys. So I don't know if this is going to turn it into a video, but this is the idea. The Hawk Lords from the air, they notice you guys at Castle Rend doing something that seems rebellious, right? What is that? And the player's like, oh, that's a great question. What are we doing as we're planning against our how we're going to get the people to rise up? What are we doing that the Hawk Lords noticed? They loved that. That was a very authorial question. Did you notice that? I didn't manipulate them. I flipped the script is what I did. I didn't manipulate the players into doing rebellious things and then went and took a snapshot from the air as the Hawk Lords go, ha, I gotcha. I could have done that. That's how I normally would have run the game, right? Actually play everything out. Instead, I gave them the authorial responsibility to tell me what they were doing that got them fucked. Right? Because I'm asking them, I'm saying I'm about to put your feet to the fire. I'm about to ratchet up the tension. So the bad guys are going to notice that you're trying to do something. What do they notice? And it was super fun for them to create that. It never occurred to them. This is going to be down to your play group. It never occurred to them to say, well, we do something they can't notice, Matt. No, that's not how stories work. That's not how adventures work. And an adventure is a kind of story. Oh my God, we should talk about the elusive shift if those of you who haven't heard me talk about the elusive shift, I can't shut up about it. Any advice for running a post-apocalyptic style campaign in D20 Fantasy as a newbie DM? I don't know that I have any insight into there. I don't know what there is about D20 Fantasy that makes it particularly good or bad for running post-apocalypse. Is all about setting, right? And it's all. I would also say it probably has a lot to do with access to power, access to magic items and stuff like that. Presumably in a post-apocalyptic setting, there is not much of that, right? It's almost by definition, a post-apocalyptic setting is a resource poor setting. So how does that manifest in D20 Fantasy? Does it manifest in access to spells? Does it manifest in access to classes? I don't know. I've never thought about it before. Alligator Forest, what a great question. Alligator Forest just asked a really good question. Based on your recent video, this would be the What Makes a Good Player video. Do I think that DMs should look at the rules of their game before creating a world? Yeah. Well, I mean, it's sort of obvious, right? Like most role-playing games are not D20 Fantasy. And it doesn't really make sense to most D20 Fantasy is not unique, but it's sort of close to unique in that it is not a generic game. It is a specific style of play. However, it purports to be generic, which causes a lot of friction and static. And it's the source of this question. So for instance, if you were playing Call of Cthulhu, it would not occur to you to ask that question, because the reason you play Call of Cthulhu is you want this specific intersection of fiction and tropes and gameplay, right? And they go together, right? So I would not use Call of Cthulhu to run a Mad Max game, for instance. No, I would use Call of Cthulhu to run a Call of Cthulhu game. And if I were going to run a Mad Max game, it's a good question. I actually don't know what I would use off the top of my head. I don't, as far as I know. I mean, yeah. So it's sort of unique to D&D that you have to worry about the notion of, like most other RPGs, they come with a world that is designed to be the world of this game. And so why would you throw it out? Like, why would you, if you're going to run a Marvel superheroes game, why would you throw out Marvel comic characters? Well, in that case, now you're just running a generic game. There are better systems for that. You know? So I do think that, it is possible for someone to be running D20 Fantasy and make their own world, and the world they make is not perfectly in alignment with the rules. Yeah, that is totally possible to do. And that would be a mistake, I think, generally. Like, for instance, Orden, my setting and the official setting of MCDM, the official setting of Draw Steel, Orden was my setting that I started working on when I was 23, 1993. And it went through a lot of changes, including taking the giant world map I had made, which was quite detailed, to my friend Rob's house. And it was raining, and my old hand-me-down car from my grandfather's trunk, the trunk did not seal well against the water, and it ruined the map, and I had to start all over again. And I basically never did. I basically never started again on a map. It's been 30 years, and I was like, shit. And I said, well, so I just have in my head the basic shape of it. And it was very weird. When I was running D&D in the 90s, there was a lot more opportunities for players to get into games. So everybody, of the 7 people in my gaming group, like 5 of them were dungeon masters. So that enabled and encouraged everybody's game to be weird and idiosyncratic, because no one dungeon master in our group bared the burden of being the D&D game or the role-playing game or anything. Nope, not at all. So I was free to make a weird and quirky game, and I did. And in my setting for D&D, originally, like, elves could not be clerics. Dwarves could not be wizards. They did not have access to those spheres of power for various reasons that were explained and there were like all sorts of, you couldn't play, at first level, you could play a human and you could play a halfling, and that was about it, right? You couldn't play an elf until you were higher level, because elves are just better than humans. They're just more powerful than you. Like, go read Lord of the Rings, go watch Star Trek. Vulcans are just better than humans, right? They're stronger than us. They're smarter than us. They live longer than us. So here's the Star Trek RPG. What are we going to do about that? Well, we'll give the humans some esoteric ability like courage. Like, all right, that sounds good. It's as good as the solution as any at the end of the day. Same thing in my setting with elves and dwarves. They were just better than humans. And so when they opened, so this was me making a very idiosyncratic game that was not 100% in line with what was in the play. You could not assume that just because the player's handbook said XYZ that was true in Matt's world back in the 90s. But then they opened D&D, and I was working at Wizards of the Coast. I was a full-time employee when they did that. And I was like, there is now the opportunity for me to publish, especially now that I'm a professional in this industry and I know how to get books done, and I have all sorts of contacts all over the place. I have people that if I said, hey, I'm going to write this setting, do you want to publish it? They would have said yes. And I was like, so I better take this really weird and quirky setting and polish it and sort of sand off all the weird rough edges until it fits, until what's in the player's handbook is in here, right? And so that meant I had to make it less weird and more mainstream, more of a commercial product. Well, that journey is like every DM is going to have to go through that at some point where you're like, I made this really weird world, doesn't really have anything to do with these rules. Well, that's going to be a problem because your players don't know that. And they're going to assume that what's in the player's handbook is in your world. And especially if they're new players, it can be, I almost want to say, and this was true with me at Turtle Rock Studios, at Pandemic Studios, where I would introduce, you would be surprised at how many video game developers have never played any tabletop games of any kind. They are video gamers. That is their native genre. That's it. And so I had this huge supply, a ready-made supply of nerds. I could never run out of them. There were more people working at these companies than I could ever run D&D for in a lifetime. And in batches of 4 to 6, I would run campaigns for them and teach them the game. And I made a point of making sure this is the generic old school D&D experience. It's a sandbox. Everything in the player's handbook is in here. It's not weird and quirky because it did not occur to me to try to inflict some weird fucked up world on them. They were new players and they needed the kind of standard generic experience, I thought. So I could have enforced different rules on them. And they would have put up with it because they didn't know any better, but all it would have done would create constant stop and go traffic where they would see something in the player's handbook, be inspired to come up with an idea, and then I'd pull the rug out from underneath them. What's the point of that? So yeah, I think if you're running D20 Fantasy, you do sort of owe your players, you owe your players the expectation. You have to deliver on their expectations, and the player's handbook sets those. Now, if you've run for them multiple times, if there's multiple DMs in your group, you can get weirder and more quirky, right? But it all depends on the makeup of the group. You know, you could get a bunch of people together for the first time who might be perfectly happy to run in your quirky world, knowing that most of the stuff in the player's handbook, it doesn't work this way. But then there comes a point where there's certain stuff like if you're going to want to run a really low magic like Black Company style game, you're going to be throwing out huge chunks of that system. And I do not believe that table will stand regardless of how many legs you break off of it. I think at a certain point, things are going to start to fall over. And maybe if there's a sufficient disparity between the baseline expectations of your world and those of 5th edition D&D or whatever D20 Fantasy you're running, maybe it's time for you to go find a different system that better suits this world. Your players aren't going to know the difference. You know, the players don't care. If they've never played before, they don't care. You know, they don't know. They already know they don't know anything about it. They're new. That was a good question, I thought. I need to turn on the air conditioning. Casey Love, great question, says that Captain Minion thing is so cool. I hope the Necromancer can not only raise dead, but also subjugate undead they encounter in the world. That's not impossible, but that would be what we call like a ribbon feature, meaning not really related to game balance, because the problem is, and this was the problem we encountered with the original design of the Censor, it was sort of like our version of the Paladin, a holy warrior charged by the church to go out into the world and brand heretics, like whatever your god, whatever the opposite of what your god believes in is, you go out into the world and punish people that do that. And originally the idea was you would be an anti-monster class. Well, aren't all classes? Well, meaning specifically you would pick like I'm anti-demon, I'm anti-dragon, I'm anti-giant. We could not make that work because we can't, much like being anti-undead, we cannot guarantee that there will be any undead in the campaign your director is running. Ever. So yeah, we can give you bonuses against undead. We could give you powers that let you like convert undead and take control of them, right? I think that might be on the table, but it has to be one of those kind of free things. It's like, it's because it's so situational. There's no way to guarantee it's going to happen, right? Like I have run games where a friend of mine makes a thief. I just had lunch with him yesterday. A friend of mine makes a thief, and the thief is really fucking good at backstabbing people. And the entire adventure, this entire big dungeon, this epic dungeon, the Barrow Maze from Monty Cook Press, really good adventure, I thought. Really good dungeon, massive, big mega dungeon, really good mega dungeon. The entire thing is all undead and golems. Awesome. They are immune to sneak attack in 3rd edition. Sweet. So one of my best friends spent about 9 months at the table doing nothing. Because literally nothing. I mean, he had a lot of other stuff to do because it was a mega dungeon, getting in and out of stuff, disarming traps and shit like that. But fighting monsters, he was basically like, imagine a generic PC with no abilities. With no, like, imagine take a fighter, take a wizard, take all the spell casting out, take a paladin, take all the smites and spells out, right? It's like, this is great, Matt. Thanks. Awesome. So you definitely got to kind of think about how, yeah, it's cool that clerics can turn undead, but how much of the cleric's design is based on that? What if there's no undead in this game? We are having a blast. Geocon Victus says, I hope you're having a blast developing the game. I mean, apart from the fact that we're all work from home, which I did not know that in 2019, I had no idea that the whole entire company was going to be work from home all the time. Apart from that, which does sort of rob us of a certain amount of camaraderie and sense of like, we would play the game more often if we were all working in the office together. The art team and the design team would probably be coming up with a lot better, cooler, new ideas if we're all working together. So apart from that, which you can't do anything about, like I as much as I miss working on a team and that experience of all of us working on something we're excited by, it's pretty good. Here at MCDM, things are going pretty well. We have weathered that storm better than most companies. I have friends of mine that work at other video game companies, and they are low key miserable. Basically, because it's like, well, I wake up in the morning, I check my Jira, and then I take lunch, and I come back and test some stuff, then I submit, and I go to bed. And that's their experience working in games now. And I'm like, wow, what a miserable, soulless experience. It's not like that on here. We get to work on cool stuff all the time. We have meetings all the time. We're all in the Discord together, and there's always new stuff to do. And the fact that people are watching is kind of a double-edged sword, because to a certain extent, laboring in obscurity is nice, right? No pressure. There's no fucking pressure. No one even knows the game exists. So you are free, but then you have this anxiety. Does anybody want this? Well, we have the opposite problem. We know people want it, but they wanted it before it was ready. We pitched people, and a lot of people pledged, I think, because they really just wanted D20 fantasy from another company. And we're like, that's never been anything we've said we wanted to do, and that's not this. But that's the nature of all Kickstarters, is you say, this is what we want to do, and then the finished product will resemble that in some ways, but in other ways it's like, well, that didn't work, we couldn't figure this out. And so there's always this tension of like, well, we know a lot of people are interested and watching, but that just increases the pressure. It's like, now we have to deliver, and this is the point of Kickstarter. It's a new thing. And now we're at the point where it seems like we're on the right track. There's some things that work better than others. There's some things we're seeing like, we got to fix that, polish that. But overall, the experience people have playing the game right now seems to be pretty positive. And that suddenly frames everything we've done in a new light, right? So now I think people are going to come back from Gen Con. I'm obviously not at Gen Con. Almost the entire rest of the team is. I think people are going to come back from Gen Con really energized. I can already see it in our Discord. I can already see it in like the messages that just Lars is sending me. I can already see that like, wow, this was a really good running the game for people at the show. And seeing people who have never played before, many of these people haven't looked at the packet. They're a lot of them were backers, but not all of them. But the backers haven't seen a playtest packet yet. And this is why, because we want to make sure it's good. And see them play for the first time, and see every player has a moment where the light goes on and everything goes click and they get it. And at that point, they won't shut up about the game. All they want to do is play more, talk about it, make characters. We're seeing people on our Discord. This is so awesome. Oh my God, you guys. We're seeing people in our Discord just making characters. They're like, this is fucking amazing. I love this character creation system. Now, other people are like, wow, this is a lot. I was like, yeah, because we didn't want to compromise. We don't understand why it should be that games that have a tactical monster fighting focus should, by definition, be a bunch of one-dimensional characters. Why? That's never been how I've ever played the game. Even when we were teenagers and it was mostly dungeon crawling, we were layering all sorts of politics and romance and stuff like that onto our characters, and it did not seem like a contradiction to us. So I've never really understood that philosophy, that when people try to go off the ranch, so to speak, and make a game that's not D20 fantasy, usually the first thing they throw out is the grid. They're like, what are you doing? Why? And like, well, we want to focus on like narrative and character. I'm like, why? What does the one have to do with the other? So making a character in our game, you get a lot closer to coming out the gate with a 3-dimensional character where you actually know who this character is and what they're about, what their motivation is. You know their backstory. Why am I an adventurer? Isn't that an interesting question? You have to answer that. You have to answer that when you make a character. Why did I leave my life behind and decide to become a professional monster hunter? That's a weird thing to do, isn't it? Yes. And so he's put a lot of thought into that. And there are a lot of people who show up, they're excited to play because they want to make the character they always play in our game. And then they go, oh, hang on a minute. This is a different game. I cannot just trivially remake my favorite D20 fantasy character in this game. And that frustrates some people because they didn't realize that. They didn't realize that was on the table. Oh, you mean I got to make it like a new character for this game? Well, you'd be surprised. Well, I just made a video that talks exactly about this. But when people do that, when they take the game on its own merits and they just flip through the packet and they're looking at the options and there's no art, there's no layout, and they're like, this is fucking amazing. Like, I want to just make characters, and this is just, we're just getting started. We're going to have way more complications, more classes, more subclasses. So it's kind of breathtaking right now where we are. It's possible for us where we are right now to think maybe this game is going to take off and appeal to people outside just the people that backed it. Just the people that backed it liking it would be awesome. That's a plenty big audience for us right now. But also, all the feedback we're getting means we're sitting going, oh, polish. We got to polish. We got a lot of polish to do. We got a lot of polish. A lot of stuff is working. A lot of stuff needs work. Legend Lore says, would we ever create supplemental material for games like Shadow Dark? I don't know. Is there a need for that? It seems like the Shadow Dark folks are pumping out, which I think is one person, a ton of content. Isn't there already a whole ton of content for Shadow Dark? Redhead Media says, what was the reaction from that short versus long video, dude? Well, it's a good, it seems like it's split 60-40, although I don't know which is the 60, between people saying, oh, I get it, cool. And then people being like, but Matt, you don't understand. You don't understand. We don't care why you make videos. We care why we want to watch them. And I'm like, yeah, but that's not, but I don't know you. Right. And so I'm not going to make videos for your reasons. I make videos for my reasons. And that's what I thought that video was about. I thought that video was me explaining, here's why I do this. And here's the thought that goes into this. And people were like, but wait, don't do that. Don't make videos for you. Make them for me. And I'm like, but I don't actually know you. And that would be a weird thing for me to do. So yeah, there were a lot of people that thought, that they thought I did not know why they liked my videos. I do know. Because I've got no one sees all the comments except me. I see all the comments, including all the people that get banned, all the crazy shit people say, all the messages that get deleted. I see all of it. And I know what people think. And people were like, but wait, I liked the history of Fighter. And I was like, well, okay, but that's a psychological response. I'm talking sociologically. I'm talking about the behavior of groups. You specifically liking this does not move the needle, right? And it's like Woodstock. The number of people, I was doing those videos for literally years before I started the Running the Game series. And I think I got a total over like 6 videos. And each one is hours long. I got a total of 300 subscribers. So there's about 80,000 people that think they're one of those 300 subscribers. That's what I mean when I say it's like Woodstock. There's way more people said they went than could possibly have gone. But yeah, and then you look at and people are like, but I liked those and I watched them for this reason or for that reason. I'm like, look, you can't, none of this has anything to do with what I said. If you go look at the responses, if people are like, well, the fact that people aren't talking about it online doesn't mean they're not getting something from it. I'm like, look, that's not the issue. Look at the responses. Every single video, the responses are all the most upvoted or most popular responses are, where's the next one? Where's the next one? There. Again, it's like, sorry, that's not why I do this. I'm not on a treadmill. And there are just a bunch of people who are trying to find hammers and nails to keep me on the treadmill. I'm like, no, that's not how this works. I always only make the videos that I felt like making. That's always been true. And there are people who wish that they had a lot more control over me than they do. And they will use language in an attempt to try to have some control over that. Is it me, or is there something? What's going on with chat? No, I mean, like, it feels like I'm trying to pause chat, and then all of a sudden it seems like I'm at the end of it. Do I have an office still? Yeah, we have an office, and there are people in it almost every day. Austin Perry, thank you. Thank you for playing. Thank you for running for your friends. Thank you for running for your friends, and I hope someday that they run for you. Has anything said about how tied to a particular setting or not? I mean, Draw Steel is the MCDM RPG, so it uses the MCDM world. It's got elves and dwarves and humans and halflings. So, and so if your world has those things, look, here's rules for that, and they're all pretty standard. It's not like our elves, can eat suns or anything like that. They're just normal. They just our own version of two different flavors of elf, high elf and wood elf, basically. There are people who are like, I do not like how tied. This has so far been a small minority, thankfully, of respondents. However, I am aware that when a discussion online is going in a certain direction, that discourages people that have the opposite opinion from replying. So we tend to pay more attention to the people who are like, I don't like this, and here's why. Because we think there are social pressures that stop people who agree with those folks from jumping in. They see, oh, people like this, I'll keep my mouth shut. I know that sounds strange. It's the internet, but it's true. But yeah, I mean, we needed a setting. We did not want to, nor did we ever claim we were going to make a generic role-playing game. This isn't GURPS or the hero system or something like that. This is a fantasy RPG, and that means it has all the tropes of fantasy nonsense, and that meant we needed a world. And I was talking with my art director, our art director. I'm not your drummer, you're my singer. About this, and he was like, Matt, we didn't have a choice. It would have taken us 3 years to invent a new fantasy world from scratch. With this team, everybody has opinions. And it takes time. And you spent 30 years on that world. If we spend 3 years on it, that's just a fraction of that time. So we had to use your world. We didn't have another one sitting in, and I was like, okay, fair enough. So yeah, it is relatively. How closely tied is going to be on a player by player basis is going to seem different depending on your world and your expectations, which I cannot know. However, Orden and the Timescape are foundational. They are foundational. They are what we go to anytime we need to think of, anytime we're designing a class and we're like, this is a cool archetype, but how do we turn it into, this is a cool character, but how do we turn it into an archetype that supports lots of different characters? What we do is we start thinking about, how does this world that we're making work? What are the rules of it? What are the opportunities here that, how does psionics work in this world? Oh, that's cool. So that means, like I said at one point, could we have a character? This is just the other day, cutting edge. That's what I meant upstream when I said cutting edge. I said, could we have a character class, maybe a subclass, where all their abilities are triggered actions and they never take a turn? They literally exist between all the other turns, and that doesn't mean they have that. When I said that, some people in the chat were like, they assumed I meant all interrupts. I'm like, no. Triggered actions can happen anywhere in the chain of acting. So they could be all just reactions. It could be like, okay, if you do this, when you're done, I do this fucking cool thing, right? And that was based on me thinking about how psionics works in our world and our game design, and so it all kind of feeds together, and it gets hard to tease some parts of it apart. So I would say it is foundationally built on top of this world, but that world is already supposed to be a somewhat generic fantasy land on purpose. See my earlier discussion. Redhead Media, that sounds relatively familiar. I mean, there are very few new ideas under the sun. Gub DM says their table had a lot of fun. That makes me really happy. David golfs pro. Matthew golfs amateur. No, I don't golf. I mean, David Gall's Pro says, I pledge because I trust MCDM to make awesome products. I mean, it's going to be awesome. Whether you like it or not, I don't know. But when you look at it, I mean, when you look at the fucking thing, you know, and you're like, God damn, when you look at the book, you're going to be like, holy shit, I can see where the money went. And almost, I think it's fair to say every single product we've made, the people who bought it, even when they were like, oh, well, this isn't exactly what I thought it was going to be, and this isn't really what I need right now. I'm not running a political game, so I don't really have a use for Kingdoms. And I don't use Kingdoms of Warfare is a good example. People are like, I pledge for this product, and these rules are cool, but I'm not really. There's no war happening right now in my game, so I don't need the warfare rules. But like, holy shit, look at these dope ass monsters. Oh wow, look at these rules for concordance. Oh wow, and people steal stuff from every book we make. We see all these people being like, well, I didn't use 100% of it, but holy shit, I fucking love this part, and I grabbed this, and now I can't run without it. And so that's, I think there's still going to be a ton of amazing ideas in here that people will be happy to steal from, including setting stuff and lore stuff. Argonautica says they're running the packet in about 30 minutes. That's right. Hey, FYI, I haven't said this, but the packet, the current playtest, if you want to playtest Draw Steel, if you want to try the game, just come by the Patreon. You can pledge for $8 and then cancel. People do that. We don't care. And download the current packet. It's huge. It's, almost an entire role-playing game. There's only 5 classes, only first level. We have levels 2 or 3 already not mapped out, actually designed and prototyped and tested. However, we wanted to focus the test on everything else because the power roll is new to the patrons. All this stuff is new. All the ancestries that are going to be in the book, we think are already in there. So if you get the packet and you see, oh, look at this, there's 12 different ancestries, I think. That's what's going to be in the book. I think all the kits in there, I think that's all the kits there will be. I could be wrong. Obviously, we would like the game to grow an audience, and that means we get the opportunity to make more ancestries and more kits, and the people are already There was already a thread on the Draw Steel or MCDM subreddit saying, hey, here's a bunch of kits I made up, and that's fucking cool. So yeah, we love that shit. So come by the Patreon, $8 a month. And you get to see the whole history of the game being developed from scratch. You sort by date, in the right order, and you'd be like, holy shit, they used to think the game was going to work like this, and there was going to be this, and here's why they changed it. There's a bunch of art we've uploaded, and the actual game. It's super cool. The patrons are awesome. It is an awesome community, and we have a patrons only channel in the Discord, and it is breathtaking watching people read the rules and be like, hey, how does this work? And somebody else goes, it's on page 97, and we don't even have to say anything. And they're self-assembling. There were people who are like, hey, I'm a patron and I'm at Gen Con. I've got the packet. I printed it out. Anybody else at Gen Con want to play? And they're just in the Gen Con channel. They're not in the patrons channel. And they're self-organizing into groups to play. There was somebody who said they played for 5 hours and that when they were done, they couldn't shut up about it. And I was like, we made a game and people might like it. So yeah, come on by the Matthew Chesser, go watch the catastrophic failure video. I ran for my boss and the owner of the company, and I killed his character off in a really gross, stupid way that I should not have done. And he wanted to fire me. I'm glad he didn't. It is a YouTube stream, Reverbial. How many people are watching, by the way? I have literally no idea. Leah, Byros. Matt never stopped telling stories. I'm on Twitch several times a week, typically. And we tell all kinds of stories. But we talk about, that's the thing about my Twitch streams, is we talk about all kinds of stuff. We talk about politics. We talk about history. We talk about science, explaining how a black hole could have color, right? And what that might mean about primordial black holes and stuff like that. We talk about all sorts of stuff on the Twitch channel. But as a result, and because it's completely like this, it's completely extemporaneous. I like the fact that not that many people are watching and it gets automatically deleted after like 60 days. So I can just, I can talk about whatever and not feel as though I'm being judged constantly. Rex Tonorma says, I have a solution for your sensor problem. Firstly, it's sensor as in censorship, not sensor as in a thing you carry. But you would be surprised at how much time and effort we spent on that problem. You would be surprised. We're not. If I talk about it for 5 minutes, that represents probably about 2 weeks of 4 designers thinking about it. Drovalon says, it seems to me you both don't know people. I literally don't know you, Drovalon. I literally don't know you. Do you think I do? But you do know them. I know what the audience wants because I see it I'm the one that reads all the responses. Does that sound like a contradiction? I literally do not know you. And if you think I do, then that's why I'm not at Gen Con right now. That means you're part of the problem, right? I literally do not know you, and I like it that way. Right? However, I see which videos do well. I see what kind of audiences they attract. I see the comments, good and bad, and the direction they go. So I know the audience. I know what the audience wants. I don't know you. And I like it that way. Just became a patron, says Armin Obuna. Awesome. Happy to have you. I think you will like it. I think we can say that. There's at least hundreds of people, if not more, who are like, I got my money's worth already just from the game design shit I learned. It makes us happy. And I think that stuff is sort of like, now we're at the point where we're not prototyping stuff anymore. The game is settled down. We have a system. It is working. We're basically at feature complete, and now it's content generation. So now it's like, okay, here's this. Okay, here's this. So there's probably not going to be a lot of game design lessons moving forward. There'll be some. Is there a Kickstarter? There's a backer kit. Yeah, I mean, we can back it. I presume you can back it. You can be a what they used to call a slacker backer and pledge. But if you've been, whenever like the Heroes book is done, if you were in the patron for the 5 months before that, I think is the rule. So if you've been a patron for 5 months, when the Heroes book PDF drops, we're just going to give you the PDF for free. You already paid for it, right? You want it in hardcover? Well, you got to pony up. So Infernal Lombax says, hey, Matt, I'm curious about MCDM's approach to an issue that came up in 5e. This is a good question. There was a class or two that was largely considered poor. I think you'd be surprised at how you and your friends or you and the people on this forum or the people on Twitter coming to consensus is the same as everyone considers it poor. You'd be surprised. You'd be surprised at how obvious. It's like, don't we all agree that this 5th edition class is junk? No, you don't all agree. And depending on where you are on the internet, people will be like, what are they talking about? What? It's obvious that this class is junk. So I would not trust social media to determine those things. I would say data determines those things. Where was that question? Oh, yeah. There was a class or two that was largely considered poor. When MCDM released post-product fixes, if they saw that, of course. I mean, we're not stupid. We're game developers. All we want is to make the game better. But we have, so this is a complicated question. Like, I think in general, if, like for instance, when we release a packet for Draw Steel, should I turn the light up? I seem like I'm really dark. The problem is that, that is really bright. It's more illuminating, which is good, but it's also hard to stare into a light that bright. So here's the issue, right? Like, the players aren't game designers, and they don't know what's wrong. They don't know what's wrong, but they don't know that, and they think they know. So what happens is, especially if we can get the VTT working, which all signs point to yes, but software development is a crazy thing, and it might turn out that we can't get it done, but we will have given it the old college try, so to speak. The VTT will do things like give us real data on, because a lot of the data that you hear from, for instance, I would not trust data from D&D Beyond, because D&D Beyond does not tell you how often people play. It might tell you how many characters they make, but people make characters for all sorts of reasons. People make characters who never get to play. There are people whose whole hobby is just making D&D characters, just as an exercise. So, and there's no way for them to know, what did you do with your character? Did you print it out and play for years and level up? They don't know. They don't know when you level your character up. Is that because you just wanted to see what a 3rd level version of your character would be? But that'll change when we have a VTT. That'll change. We'll be able to actually see live data, and they'll be hugely useful. But one of the things you learn working on a live game, which I have done, is that you can tell, especially if there's like official forums and stuff like that. When we release a new packet, I go all over the internet and see what are people saying. I don't just look on Twitter. I don't just look on Reddit. I go to different forums. They have internet forums now. I go to different forums and I see, what are people over here saying? Here's a forum that is completely not our audience. What do they like? What don't they like, right? And you can sort of build a picture of how things are going. And as a designer, this is true of being a writer. I think it's probably true of any kind of artist. It's true of like being a programmer. When someone tells you they don't like something, they're right. When someone tells you why they don't like it, they are probably wrong. And that's the job of the professional. When I was a writer, so when I was a writer at Turtle Rock, for instance, this is a more fun example. When I was a writer at Turtle Rock, I would often be writing shit that was experimental, right? I'm going to try this. I'm going to try that. Maybe a good example is like naming the monsters. This is a hugely critical part of the game. And we had all these temp names that people didn't like. And they're like, well, eventually Colville will come up with the real names. And so when I would write something, if it was a dialogue or a backstory or fiction or whatever, and I would send it to a group of people on the team to get their feedback, they would say whether they liked it or not. And that's at that point, I'm like, okay, got it, thanks. Because I watched the art team. I sat next in amongst all the artists. I would watch the art team go through this exercise. It always frustrated me because somebody would draw something and someone else would come up and say something like, well, this person looks... They wouldn't like the art. They wouldn't like the art. And then they would start talking about it. And I would listen to them and I would be like, this person is starting, especially if they weren't an artist, if they were somebody else from the rest of the team, that means they didn't have the language for this stuff. They would come up and they would like it or not like it. And then they would start talking. And I would sit there and I would watch. And I would be like, everything this person's saying is something they came up with after the fact. They had a gut reaction. And then the artist said, why didn't you like it? Or why did you like it? Or what? And then they go, and they start making shit up. And I'm like, as a writer, I didn't need that. I'm like, no. You don't know why you like or don't like things. I always knew when something I wrote was a little bit edgy, meaning like not edgy as in like dark or anything, but like this is non-standard. This is going to be interesting to see how the team reacts to this. And I would write it. And if they didn't like it, I'd be like, yep, I know why. I know this is going to work because it always works. This is kind of interesting and experimental. And if it doesn't work, that's because of that. And I would say, okay, I would take it away. I would rewrite it and they'd be like, oh, this is awesome. I'm like, yep. So I've seen game designers, these are other devs doing a demo, and the designer is sitting there watching the animators play the game. And it's a new build with some new design and it's not working. And so these professional game developers, they're not designers, they're all animators. They started talking about what they didn't like and why. And watching them, and I was watching, the designer's name was Clancy. I was watching Clancy and Clancy just looked over at me and just shook his head. He was like, because they basically took the entire game apart and put it back together. Like, we should do this and we should do that and we should do the other thing. And it's like, yeah, if we had another 10 years, maybe we could do that, but that's ridiculous. And Clancy's like, he looks at me and goes, there's literally one number in an Excel sheet that if I change, all of their problems go away. That's a designer. That's an expert, right? The artist knows if they draw something that's a little outside the wheelhouse, it's a little experimental and people don't like it. They're like, I know why, right? So people have positive reactions to things. They have negative reactions to things. That's real. We want to know that. We always want to know. And then every once in a while, it's like 1 in 1,000. Every once in a while, someone will say, this isn't working and here's why. And we go, that person is right. We can just tell. We can tell, we know the design and we're professional designers. We know all these other people talking. And this person might be like, you realize, oh shit, this person saw something that no one else thought of, including us. That happens. So you have to I guess the answer is you have to fight this battle on all fronts, right? You have to be listening to everybody, but also ignoring most people, but not everybody, right? And then you try to figure out, all right, what's the real reason they don't like it? Like when we did the Beast Heart. The Beast Heart came out of me seeing all these people online complaining about the Ranger. And I was like, what are they complaining about? I didn't know. I played in games and people played Rangers and they seemed fine. And so I really dug. I would sit there and over the course of weeks, I would respond to people in these threads. Some of them knew who I was, by the way. It was my own name. And I would say, why don't you like the Ranger? What's wrong with it? And I would pursue the answer and they would answer and I would pick at it. It's kind of like the Socratic method. I'd be like, but why though? But why though? And I wasn't trolling them. I was genuine. I was legitimately engaging with them. And what I realized, I was like, oh, the reason they don't like the Ranger is because it's not broken. And what they want is they want it to be broken. They want the Ranger, specifically the thing they didn't like. And there was a laundry list of complaints, but most of them were cosmetic. The thing that really bugged people was they wanted to have a pet And they wanted that pet to be as cool as an entire character. And they wanted to play their own character, the ranger. They wanted 2 for the price of 1. And I was like, okay. So the challenge then with the Beast Heart, which is an entire class that is just about controlling a pet and super fucking fun and people love it. The thing about the challenge of the Beast Heart was, and this is why I said to James, I said the challenge is, how do we make it so that it feels like you're running 2 characters and you're getting away with something, but you're not really. And James knocked it out of the park. I had ideas about what would make it fun to play. James was in charge of figuring out how to balance the fucking thing and make it so that you feel like you've got the best of both worlds. You're running 2 different heroes and they can both do different things. But as far as the action economy goes, nope, it's totally fine. So that's the answer, is we pay attention. We listen to what the people say. We ignore most of them because it's like, okay, the fact that you don't like this is interesting. That's interesting. Why you don't like it, right? How you would change it to fix it. You know, that might work, but overwhelmingly probably not, because you're probably not a game designer. If you are, you're not on this team, right? So it's up to us to listen to people. And we just want, here's another way of answering the same question. We have no idea how people are going to use this game when it comes out. Once it comes out, it's yours. It's not ours anymore. It's yours. And you, the community of players, are going to take it in directions that we had not thought of. And we feel like if that happens, it's our job to go, and start throwing rails in front of that train to make sure that the game, that we're not just, up until release, we're making the game we want to make. After release, it's our job to support the way you play. That's one of the reasons when we dream our dreams of when we get our armor and we get on the Rocinante, when we got our knackered horse and we grab our lance and we go after windmills, when we start tilting windmills, one of the reasons we think, maybe we could take this windmill down is because we think we can do better at supporting the community, at listening to the community, at lifting them up, right? Proactively engaging with them. Because it's all we want to do. All we want to do is make our collective experience of play in this space better. Dactylus, will Draw Steel go to other VTTs? Well, we're going to open the game. The rules, you can't copyright rules anyway. So people will be able to do what they want with it. And I'm sure eventually it will be on every VTT. But each one's a different process, and some are fan made, some aren't. Us having our own VTT means that's where our focus is going to be. Do we think we'll publish errata after release? Of course. Yeah. I mean, why not? Why wouldn't we? I don't know. Isaac Willibanks, I bought GURPS books as source books. I remember I bought the GURPS Humanx Commonwealth book. I bought them as just like fun to read source books. There was for a long time in the 80s and all through the 90s, even if you were playing RPGs several times a week, you still went and bought other things just to read. Just like the Middle Earth, the original Iron Crown Enterprises Middle Earth RPG MERP, Middle Earth RPG source books are the best non-Tolkien Lord of the Rings content I've ever seen anywhere. It's so good. It really feels like, what if Tolkien just designed a game, and it's not a game, but what if he built out his setting for gamers? The Pete Fenlon and those guys, they really like tried to understand why do things work the way they do in Middle Earth and how do we make more of it. So yeah, 100%. Craig Sisko says they saw the Ajax edition on Facebook. Bonkers. It is bonkers. How is the con? The con's not over. They're still there. I'm here at home. I made the decision somewhat at the last minute to not go. I had tickets, the whole thing booked. I had a cat hotel for my cats ready. Although it's a good thing I didn't go, because I just adopted a new cat that I found in a parking lot, and it would have been, I would probably have it canceled just for that reason. But it was seeing the reactions of people if you want to know why I didn't go to Gen Con, just go on social media and see people being like, Matt, where are you? I'm looking for you. I'm trying to hunt you down and get you to sign my book. That's why I'm not going. Because being stalked at Gen Con is not an experience. I've been to Gen Con 7 or 8 times just as a dev, and my experience in the past was awesome. No one knew who I was. And so I could go watch the Red Alert tournaments and demos, and there's dozens of people playing my game, and I could walk around and listen to them talk, and they had no idea that who I was or that I worked on it. I love that. But now it's I hear Matt Colville's at this show somewhere. I am going to hunt him down and find him. It's like, because I want him to, I want to get a selfie. I want him to sign my book. I got a question for him or something. And it's like, oh shit. Well, then I don't want to go because that's super gross. Just getting my steps in. Just getting my steps in. I have had twice now. People see me just on the road, just on the sidewalk, and park their car and get out and sort of accost me. And one dude physically grabbed me because I had no idea that he was trying to get my attention. I thought he was like walking his dog or something. Just walked past me, and when I didn't acknowledge him, he was like, that's not okay. And he physically grabbed me and spun me around. And I thought I was like being mugged, basically. So yeah, that was super cool. So, and now imagine that literally times 30,000, because there were about 70,000 people at Gen Con. A big chunk of those people know who I am. So I was like, it really broke my heart because I wanted to go so bad. And I thought we were going to have a great adventure, me and the team. But in my head, when I imagined that adventure, it was always 1997, 1999, 2001. And I can't do that. I can't go back there. Unfortunately, that's not an option. So they get to go have fun. They get to go see people playing the game and stuff like that. And if I had been there, it would have been a distraction for the players. They'd be like, holy shit, it's Matt Colville. It's like, oh my God, Jesus Christ. People have no sense of boundaries. You're not wrong. I mean, most people are totally cool. But the problem is the people who aren't cool, they don't know they're not cool. They think they're the exception. Because they think they know me. And they're like, Matt won't be bothered. It's just me. I'm like, I don't fucking know you. I have no idea who you are. Hello, Landon Holly. Yeah, I'm well familiar with Tucker's kobolds. I don't know. It always seemed like killing a fly with a sledgehammer kind of problem. There's actually Matthew Chesser, one of the best mega dungeons that I wanted to run and couldn't really make work because of this was the Axe of the Dwarvish Lords, a somewhat late TSR product for AD&D, or second edition AD&D. The maps were gorgeous, really well designed, but it's all about how these kobolds, I think they might be goblins, but it doesn't, same principle. These kobolds have taken over this ancient dwarven fortress, and it's like a 9th level adventure, an 11th level adventure, and it's all kobolds. And it's all about taking everything that's fun about a dungeon crawler, and it's like Star Citizen. It's like, and making it fucking miserable, and just making the process of exploring a dungeon as miserable as possible to get the kobolds into equilibrium with the heroes, so that you're always constantly cramped, and it's always difficult to rain. And anytime you cast a spell, it lights the shit on fire and you burn. And it's like, why? Well, why? And I couldn't figure out how to make it fun for my players. I was like, this just seems fucking miserable. Why would you do this? So, it might be clever, but that's not the same as fun. So I've seen Tucker's Kobolds, and I think it's a fun article, or series of articles, speaking of which. But at the end of the day, it's like, I don't need that. Ezra Clark, well, I mean, we DM screen we're on the hook for, but stuff like that, dice. I mean, there's a lot of stuff we're talking about, coins, tokens. There's like, if we want to make a coin, ideally that's color, red on one side, green on the other, that you use to show, have I taken my turn? Most groups don't have a problem with this, but it's very easy to kind of get lost sometimes. So just being able to flip a coin over, kind of like the gambling, I'm in coins from campaign coins, where on one side it says I have not taken my turn, it's green. The other side it's red, I have taken my turn. So that would be great. People wish there was a way to track edges and banes. And so I was like, oh, there should be tokens that we could make for that. That'd be cool. Traditional Elven Greetings, tabletop nonsense verse. Do I still run one-on-one games? I haven't run anything for a long time, but I'm looking forward to getting back to it. I've been thinking about spinning up a new game set in Eastern Vasloria, around Roll, around like where Rodar von Glauer is from. Kind of dark fantasy kind of stuff. So we'll see. I don't know if I'll do that, but I want to. Yeah, why should a smart enemy ever fight fair? Right. But what does that have to do with kobolds? Right? That's a principle of design. It's not fun. It's not fun for the players to be 7th, 8th, 9th level and be brung low by a bunch of kobolds because of weird tedium and bullshit and Rube Goldberg devices and stuff like that. It's clever, but it's sort of, from my point of view, it comes from an era of gaming that was principally adversarial. It's us versus the DM. That's not how I play. Yeah, Gub DM, like the Black Obelisk. Yeah, that's a big part of the design, is that you can spend, when you make an encounter for Draw Steel, as a director, when you build an encounter, you start with a number of points, and that's based on how many players are there, what level are they, and is this a hard, easier, medium encounter? Harder encounters, more points, and you spend them. And you can spend them on all sorts of stuff. You can spend them on monsters, squads, captains. You can also spend them on what are called dynamic terrain objects, like the Black Obelisk or the Throne of An, and it could be any number of things, and you buy them, and they sit in the world and they do something, right? And they often are involved with objectives, right? Like, shut down the Black Obelisk before it summons more undead or demons or whatever. So yeah, dynamic terrain objects are currently a big part of the game. Ginger Coleslaw, it's if anything, it's worse than it is in Western Vaslorya, because they didn't have a good King Omen. Good King Omen was just parts of Andrim, Corwell, and Grade. Low-key, do monsters in Draw Steel have levels or CR? They have a level, which just kind of tells you what bucket they go in. So you should be good to use a monster if it is one level above or one level below the party level. But then each monster has a certain number has an encounter value, which is how much they cost to buy with points. Yeah, Big H2000. It's kind of amazing what you can have. Have I run our system? Yes, Limer 124. I've run it several times, but always in but we're basically danger room scenarios. I have not started a campaign in this game yet for a lot of reasons. One is we didn't have enough player options to really do it. So we've done multi-session games to test victories and stuff like that. But I personally have not used this system yet to start, and we're right at the cusp of me being able to do it, because we now have working prototypes for 8 of the 9 classes, and that's enough. So one of the things I'm thinking about doing next week is the group that we got together 2 Wednesdays ago to play so that OD could get experience behind the screen, because he's one of our volunteer demoers at the con right now. I want that group of players to make characters for real now, and I'm going to try to run something. I've got lots of ideas. And so that might turn into videos. That might turn into, all right, well, let's remember the streams we did where we built Calabras, or we built in this case, I built out Capital and the map of Capital, the gods of Capital, all the factions. I'm probably going to do that for northeastern Vaslorya, and that'll be fun. Well, Josh Court, I have a whole series on DMing, so I think I've got that covered already. Peter Reyes, there are no plans to do it, but it could happen. All the chain players are still, within driving distance. I talk to them all the time. And that's sort of on my mind, is that, like, should we try to go pick the chain back up, or should we I think it would be more fun for these players to start something new and get some first level experience under their belt. Maybe that's the heist. We'll see. Hans Shaler, I am vaguely aware of them, but otherwise I don't really consume tabletop content, especially role-playing content, especially D&D content on YouTube. That's not what I go to YouTube for. My YouTube feed is British panel shows, synths, history, science, music, a lot of music. Is 9 classes set? Yeah, we don't have time. We don't have time to get more. The backer kit will not let you say it'll be done when it's done. You got to give them a date. And having given everybody a date where we want this game to be done, that means we have to make it fit in that box. And we think we have time. We have time to build out 9 classes. We'll do more assuming that the game, all products are like black holes. Either matter is falling into them and they are growing, or Hawking radiation is causing them to slowly evaporate. So one or the other. So either we will be shedding players or customers, or we will be accruing them. And if we are accruing them, the sky is the fucking limit. The number of things that we can and would like to make for this game is off the chart. Jim Cullen, you don't know what I value, though, is the issue. This is why people tend to recommend things to me, because they like them rather than they think I would like them. I think there's basically only been like 1 or 2 people in my entire life who, like my friend Jordy, is like, you should watch Justified. He was right. But that's because he watches a lot of television. He's like, of all the shit I watch, Matt would really like this. How's the new kitty doing? She's doing amazing. I think her name is Miss Kitty. She's awesome. She's so awesome, everybody. And now she and Max are starting to play a little bit. They don't know. Each of them is afraid of their limits because one's a teenage kitty and one's a little tiny baby kitty. Vince is like, I hate all of you. Vince is like, I miss when it was just me and Matt. But Vince will be like, he'll be like, lick, to the new cat. He'll be like, lick, lick, lick. Oh, I fucking hate you. Lick, 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 lick. Oh, I wish, lick, lick, lick. So it's really, you can see it. Then he'll hiss at the cat and then go lick, lick, lick. What's the title? Draw, steal. Yeah, I went to, I came home. It was Wednesday. It was 2 Wednesdays ago. Matt O'Driscoll ran draw steal for us because he needed some experience behind. He didn't want to go to Gen Con to run for the first time, never having done it before. And so we're like, no problem, we'll get you some experience behind the screen. And I went home. I was low on gas. Stopped at a gas station by my house. I got out of my car and there was a little tiny gray kitty. A little tiny gray kitty sitting in the parking lot. And the cat literally does that. It didn't run away. Cat, and I saw the cat and I'm like, kitty, kitty. And the cat goes, meow. And I went, okay. And I went and got some food for it at the 7-Eleven. And anyway, it took about 3 days to get the box, the crate for the cat, the food for the cat, the hand that puts the cat into the crate, everything where it needed to be. And then boop. And now she's my kitty. Anyway. So I feel like looking at chat, I feel like we've kind of wrung all the changes out of this stream. How long have we been doing this for now? About 90 minutes. That's about right. Yeah, Robin Baggett. We have a prototype for the operator. And in fact, my initial design for the operator is one of the things that made James go, man, this sucks because this is fucking cool and we can't do this in the current system. And that made us change how we looked at heroic resources. And it may be that the game has changed so much since then that the operator wouldn't work. We'll see. That design might need to be changed, but there's nothing about that design that is unique to the notion of being a mech driver. So I think we can absolutely still have a mech driver. Matthias Havres says, would you like making videos to show how the game works? Or do I think it's more the community's role? I think it's the community's role. Like, I will probably make some videos about the game because I think there are things where it's like, I don't know, it's a slippery slope. There are some subjects like I think a series of videos, really, really short ones, like almost like TikToks, saying, here's how initiative works in this game. You at the beginning of the encounter, both sides roll a D6 or D10 or whatever, and whoever wins gets to go first. And then that side picks somebody to go from the people that haven't acted yet this turn. And then when that person's done, then the other side gets to pick somebody to go from all the people that haven't acted this turn. And you just do that. You just do that until everybody's acted, right? And if there's an imbalance, right, then that means these two people just get to go boop boop. That's fine. The game is designed to make that work. If you follow the rules, there you go. That's it. That's the whole rule. That's it. That's all of it. Like, that's one of the major fucking differences between our game and D20 Fantasy is in D20 Fantasy, the game tells you when you get to go. In our game, you decide. It means you got to talk about it. So there's stuff like that that's really simple, bite-sized rule stuff. How do edges and veins work? Let me explain it. It's really straightforward. But and it'd be easy as almost like a reference manual, like an online reference manual, right? Like how-to videos where, but just I'm just going to give you the answer. Here's the question is in the title. Here's the answer. But in general, I think that if one of the ways we will be able to tell that the game is a success is that people are making their own videos for it. Wizards of the Coast never paid me to make any videos. In fact, to a certain extent, they discouraged it, right? But I did it anyway. So why did I have to do that? Why were there hundreds of thousands of potential dungeon masters who felt like they needed my videos? Well, now imagine if the company that makes the game actually wants people to make content and encourages them and supports them in various ways. you get a better, I think you get a better class of content. So what's the inspiration for it? Draw Steel. What do you mean, for the name or for the game? That's a good question. The Scribe. Draw Steel is a cool name. My impression is that it seems to leave out the magic users. Yeah, well, I don't think we view that issue the same. I mean, it is true that I played D&D for 30 years. Every character I played was either a dungeon or a dragon. So I understand how you would say that. The name. See, this is why people are like, I wish Matt would make more videos and live stream less, because when he live streams, he's kind of a dick. It's like, well, you'd be surprised at how many people don't agree or find that amusing. That might mean maybe you were one of the people I was being a dick to. Well, I mean, Draw Steel was something I think I might have come up with when we were playtesting, because we used to especially we would have basically game jams. We would fly everybody out to the office and we would spend a week, 2 weeks, just prototyping Draw Steel, just prototyping this game. And when it came time to roll initiative, I think I don't remember now, but I think it was me, would just say, Draw Steel, right? Like, skin that smoke wagon, right? And I thought that was cool. And I thought that's what you'll say. That's what you'll say when you play our game and it's time to roll initiative. You'll say, Draw Steel. And so there was always on the list of names, on the list of potential names. If you guys, I talked about this on Twitch, but you guys don't know this. The Twitch folks get to hear me read the ancestral write-ups live on Twitch, which I think is a lot of fun. Let's take a look at the list of names. No, that's the Patreon. I clicked on the wrong thing. RPG names. So we just made a document where everybody at the company could just drop names into this. And then I pared it down. So these were the potential names that we came up with. Tezzeret Dynamite says they're not a fan of the name, but they'll get used to it. Yeah, either you like the game or you don't. And if you like the game, the name just becomes a label for this thing you like. And if you don't like the game, the name doesn't matter. You're not gonna play a game that you fucking hate and is tedious and makes your eyeballs bleed, but you like the name. That's why we're here. No, it doesn't work that way. But also, like any name we came up with that some people liked, the thing that made them like it would make other people not like it. So people don't understand this. Like every time I see people talking about how there are very few of these, you got to really look for them. And they all kind of say the same weird thing. They start by saying they don't like it, and then they come up with a justification for it. You can always tell because the justifications are ridiculous. You're like, it's okay just not to like it. You don't have to try to turn the thing you don't like into like a logical argument. You're having an emotional reaction to it. It's okay. Let yourself have the emotional. The people who like it, they just like it. They don't feel the need to defend why they like it. So it's okay to just not like it. You don't have to try to come up with a bullshit excuse why it's a bad name. It's not a bad name. You just don't like it. And that's fine. And that's the thing, is seeing people online talk about this and have this reaction. All it does is make us think, holy shit, we are onto something. We are onto something because people either really like it or really don't like it. And that's the space we want to be in. Otherwise, what's the point? Did you think we were going to make a product that literally every single person everywhere loved equally? Nope. You knew that wasn't going to happen. You knew that wasn't going to happen, but you didn't think it was going to be you. You didn't think it was going to be you that was on the outside. Oh no, now it's a problem. This is an existential crisis. There's a moral imperative that you change this name so that I like it. It's like, okay, I don't think it's going to work. So the list of names, there was a much longer list that had a bunch of silly things on it that the people were I said, if you had an idea, don't censor yourself. Don't censor yourself. Let the class in our game do that. Just put it on the list. And then I culled it based on, yeah. And so this name is not, these aren't in any order. This is not in like the order in which we thought of them in. But Cast in Steel is on the list. I don't remember if that was a popular name or not a popular name. And then there was a thing I was trying to get to. There was a name in the back of my head that I felt like I like. There's two kinds of names I like. There's two kinds of names I like. I like short, punchy names, Draw Steel. And I like long, elaborate, poetic names. So for instance, I think a fucking brilliant name for a 4X sci-fi game, a space opera game, is Sins of a Solar Empire. I'm like, oh, that's such a good fucking name. Sins of a Solar Empire. I loved All You Need Is Kill. I thought that was a brilliant name for that Tom Cruise sci-fi movie based on a manga. That was fucking brilliant. I don't think it'll have an exclamation point. It might. So those are the kinds of names I like. I like short, punchy names, or I like long, evocative, poetic names. I thought Daggerheart was a great fucking name. I'm like, that is a great name. It's not really either of those, but that's because it's not an MCDM product. So I thought, man, that's a good name. They got a good name. So Cast in Steel was one. And then there was a phrase I was trying to get to, and I couldn't get to it, even though I knew it was in there somewhere. And so Heart, Faith, and Steel was on the list. And there's a couple of more like that. By Sword, Spell, and Arrow. Sword and Spell, Prayer, and Arrow. But the phrase, so those were on the list. And those were okay. People were like, that's fine. But the phrase I was trying to get to, and I found it in Kingdoms and Warfare when I was looking for something else. I was looking for some lore I had written, and I needed to recall and go grab. I'm like, what did I say about this? And I opened up Kingdoms and Warfare, because the setting for Draw Steel is the same setting as the setting in Strongholds, Followers, Kingdoms, Warfare, Talent, Beastart, Illrigger, all that stuff. That world you're reading about is this world. So if you like it, come on by the Patreon. We've got a whole game for you. There was a phrase I used, and the phrase was, by sword, spell, and steel. It was like, yeah, by sword, spell, and steel. No, it was song, spell, and steel. That was it. By song, spell, and steel. Because we like the idea that the troubadour, for instance, one of the troubadour's subclasses, one of their archetypes, is literally like the rock god, right? Got a guitar, got a fantasy electric guitar, and plays power chords and inspires or terrifies people. Just let them give the people what they want. Give them what they want, right? So the idea that music can have power, right? The idea that maybe the rock god troubadour can resurrect people. You live forever in the music. The music can keep you alive. I fucking love that idea. It's so non-literal. It's so poetic. What does that mean? It's magic. Shut up. It's magic, right? It's a fantasy world, right? So with song, spell, and sword, I thought was a really cool name. But I even though I really liked that name and I wanted to put it on the list to see how the team would react to it, I never really believed in that name, because to me, that's like a fairy tale game kind of name. And we wanted something that had a little bit of bite to it, a little bit of punch. There we go. So here's a name that I really right, Highwayman, right? Yeah. Yeah. I mean, if I could have called the game, if I thought I could get away with it, We Deal in Lead, friend. That would have been a good name. But people would have hated it. They would have been like, what? So this is a name that I really believed in, and I thought might go the distance. I thought this might be the name. You ready? Against All Tyrants. I thought, holy fuck. That is planting a flag. That is planting a flag somewhere. Against all tyrants. And then that caused people on the team to be like, what about Against a Sea of Troubles? I'm like, that's a cool name. It's a quote, obviously. We all know what it's from. And then somebody suggested Rat Catchers, because that's the name of my novels. And I was like, our game is more heroic than that. Somebody wrote Go Forth. That might have been James. James really liked that. Heroes keep moving. Heroes press on. Heroes don't stop to rest. Heroes don't stop to bind their wounds. They keep going, right? So Go Forth with an exclamation point, and then Draw Steel is on the list. Tyrants Vanquished for a long time, for a couple of weeks. And we did mock-ups of this. This is how close this came to being the real name, by the way. For a long time, we thought the name of the game might be Heroes Forged, Tyrants Vanquished. And then there could be the monster book would be called Heroes Forged. It might just be called Monsters Slain, right? And every product would be part of that, have that formulation. And this came because somebody said something that made me think of Have Gun Will Travel, which is a famous, and then we watched Have Gun Will Travel on stream, which was really interesting, which was a very early kind of thinking man's Western is what they called it on TV. Kind of the reason I think the Paladin exists, because the main character's name is Paladin. I don't think the guys making and running D&D were super into doing their own Charlemagne fan fiction, but they all that generation all grew up watching Have Gun Will Travel. So we all thought for a long time Heroes Forged, Tyrants Vanquished was the name. But every time we started working on it, everybody on the team was like, Draw Steel is a little bit, it's a bit cooler, isn't it? It's a bit more dramatic. It's a bit more ours. You know, people were as we were going through this whole process, all of these names we liked for various reasons, but the reason Draw Steel ended up being the name was because people on the team felt like, but that's ours. All these other names are cool for various reasons and how they're like other things, but Draw Steel is skin that smoke wagon. If you're going to talk, if you're going to shoot, don't talk, right? And also, I do think it evokes that gunfighter, gunslinger vibe. And anytime I write fantasy, it's always a kind of a mashup of like spy nonsense, hard-boiled detective fiction, and Western gunslinger fantasy, right? So I always write martial characters in my fiction as though the sword is an analog for a 6-gun in a holster, right? So Draw Steel just had this fucking vibe to it. We few, I like that. Another quote. I liked this a lot, and this is in the poetic department, right? Not literal. You're like, what does it mean? What do you mean? What does it mean? It either works on you or it doesn't. You only get one chance to make a first impression. I thought this was a really cool name. Heroes, Dark and Golden. I was reading a lot of Ray Bradbury, and I was like, ooh, it's a kind of Ray Bradbury Twilight Zone name. Here, it's poetic, but it's also got a little, what do you mean dark? Heroes, Dark and Golden. I thought it was a really cool, fun name, but I didn't really believe in it. I just thought it was a cool name. This was a name I put on the list just because somebody was like, what's the name of the true metal in the setting? And I was like, oh, right, Valiar. They're like, yeah, Valiar. I'm like, that's a cool, it doesn't mean anything. That's good for search engine optimization, right? It's ours. It belongs to us. And it's the true metal, right? It's the metal that, you know, takes enchantment best and stuff like that. It's our version of Mithril, but a little bit spicier. And yeah, I thought, yeah, Valiar. That's a cool name, but I didn't, yeah. It's on the list. So I don't know whose idea this was. Maybe it was mine. I don't think so. Irresistible Steel. I'm like, that's a fucking cool name. I like that. But that you can see that somebody thought Draw Steel was a cool name and they were trying to riff on it. What else? What else could it be if it's not Draw Steel? Somebody proposed, because of the videos and the way I run D&D, somebody proposed that the name of the game could be When Last We Left Our Heroes. And I was like, that's funny, but no. No ordinary heroes. I never really believed in that. Until the last villain dies. That's again, against all tyrants. Fuck yeah, right? Until the last villain dies. How long are we gonna keep doing this? What do you mean? How long are we gonna keep doing it? We're gonna keep doing it until the last villain dies. But that means we're gonna have to do it forever. Exactly. Somebody suggested Dragon Slayers, because at one point it was somebody said the monster book could be called Heroes Forged, Dragons Slain. And we all liked that a lot. And then somebody outside, when we were talking about the name of the game, somebody outside not an actual employee, just a friend of the company, was like, I get it. Dragons Slain. I get it. And I was like, oh, actually, we just thought you're probably going to fight dragons in this game. Sounds cool. Heroes Forged, Dragons Slain. We didn't want to. And at that point, we were like, okay, but that's not going to be there. We're like, let's. We don't want people to draw the wrong conclusion. And then this was Grace. Grace came up with this really early on, and I really liked it. And so this was definitely on the short list. This definitely made it to right to the very end. This could have been the name, and it was just Vanquish. And I was like, oh, that's even better than Draw Steel. It's only one word. It's got a V. Oh, that's cool. Vanquish. But people mentioned, and they were right, that there's a car company. I'm like, who cares? So what? They don't make RPGs and we don't make cars. Go fuck yourself. Right. But it's just one word. And that makes it it's not just search engine optimization, although that's part of it. You want a name that people really only use when they're talking about your game. And so at the end of the day, even though we all really liked Vanquish and I really liked it, our general manager kind of talked us out of it, reasonably so. We agreed. We agreed with him. We're like, nope, that's a good point. When people go online, type in Vanquish, they're going to have to add MCDM Vanquish RPG, something like that. Whereas Draw Steel, if you go right now, if I go and I Google, this might just be my search results because Google knows who I am. When I Google Draw Steel, it shows me our game. So, Giona Cantaruti says, will you offer a free, inexpensive package to try the game before the bigger version of the main books? Well, I don't know. It's a good question. I don't know. I think that the assumptions, it would be, if we can't make something free, we cannot charge you money for it, but it costs us to make it. And so we'd have to believe that doing so It doesn't seem like our Kickstarters, I don't think we're going to do like a free try before you buy thing. I don't think we're going to do that. We might, but I don't think we're going to. Because what are you trying to figure out? Like if you want to know if you're going to like the game, just go online and watch people playing, go read the rules. The game's going to be open. If you can't tell whether or not, if you watch Critical Role and you're like, I don't know if I'd like that game. Well, I don't know what else is going to move the needle, so watching people play it, hearing people talk about the rules, seeing the stuff that people are making with it, you'll be able to learn everything you need to learn to know whether or not it's worth your investment. And people so far with our products don't seem to have a problem believing in it and being like, nope, I think it's going to be cool. Here's some money. Any advice on running a tournament arc? What's a tournament arc? What do you mean? So I guess no. Yeah, that's the thing. Arctic Nightwolf. It's not like if you get steel mills, no one's going to think that's us. So it still works. An MCDM podcast. What do you mean? Is the draw steel VTT? We don't know what the money model is going to be for the VTT. We haven't figured it out yet. We have a lot of ideas. We have a lot of different models. It can't be free because it costs money to make and it costs money to maintain. We expect the game is going to continue to get content. We're going to continue making content for it. We already sort of know, like, we're only going to have the summoner or the talent in the core book. Whichever one isn't in the core book will be in Heroes 2. So, sometime this year, we're probably going to have a meeting about Heroes 2 and what the first hardcover expansion is going to be. More hero nonsense. More classes, more kits, more ancestries, all the stuff we wanted to do and couldn't fit in the first book. Raiden Whites as a player class, player ancestry. So that means the VTT needs to be kept up to date, and that costs money. But the thing we don't want to do, is make it so that people feel like they have to buy their products twice. Like if you buy the hardcover book, then you get the VTT. We think you'll just get the VTT with that content. If you want other content that's not in that book you bought, you got to buy it. So we don't want you to have to pay for it twice. That's the thing we can, I think, knock on wood, I think we can guarantee that is you're not going to have to, like, I bought it once in hardcover and now I want to use it in the VTT. I got to buy it again. We don't think you're going to have to do that. That's about that. But so we'll see. What's up, Argentina? Welcome to the show. Doug, that sounds like a question for the Discord. A lot of people ask me questions here that, I don't have an answer for, or this is probably not the best place to ask. And almost always go to the Discord, go to the MCDM Discord. It's super popular. It's, I linked my Patreon account to my Discord for the first time, and all of a sudden, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I am in 6 new Discords. I'm in the How to Drink Discord. I'm in the Map Album Discord. I'm in the Molten Modular Discord, the Red Means Recording Discord. I'm in the Daily Doug Discord. I'm in the Captain Burks Discord. So I'm in all of a sudden in all these Discords, and I discovered in doing that, especially on mobile, that our Discord is way bigger than all of these Discords put together. I was like, holy shit, I couldn't believe it. The Discord is huge, and the community there is amazing thanks to our mods. The community there is amazing. So if you have questions that you think are for me, they're actually probably for the Discord, and people would be happy to answer them. Have we considered what MCDM's stance will be on creating your own content? Yeah, we have a license. It has to. We're showing it to various people to get feedback, and then when everyone's chimed in, we're going to send it to our lawyer and say, okay, what do you think about this? And it's based on the Morkborg license, I think. So we have a very, like, the sky is the limit on what we can do, and I think a lot of people ask questions about the future of Draw Steel because they're coming from D20 Fantasy, where the people making the game are not primarily motivated to support their customer base. They're principally motivated either trying to make whoever owns this company rich, which is not our goal. My goal is we're going to all get rich if we're lucky. No Matt shows up in a fucking $1 million supercar and there's no bonuses. That doesn't happen in MCDM. We've structured this company completely different. I will not go into more detail because it's going to sound more self-aggrandizing than this already does. But you're coming from a place where there's some low level sort of like almost like implied hostility between the makers and the creators, right? And where the kind of the people making the game are not in charge. A lot of people who are coming to Draw Steel are coming from a game where the actual game developers, the people responsible for generating the revenue, are not in charge. They work for producers and money people who ultimately are just care about getting the line to go up to increase shareholder value. We have no shareholders. We carry no debt. We pay our own way. And that means we are empowered to go to the people in the community that are making things and lift it up. We want people to be able to make a living making products for this game, right? We have all sorts of ideas about how we can manage this stuff and what lifting people up and what promoting them means. But it all depends on cash flow. It all costs money. So if the game is accruing players and the audience for it is growing over time, well, again, then we can do a lot. We can do a lot. We can make an ecology, like the Shadow Dark ecology is pretty good, I think, as an example. The Mothership ecology is really good. You know, there's a whole hardcover book of fan-made adventure modules, except they're a lot shorter than what people are used to from a D&D adventure. But yeah, so that's all on the table. That's why we worked on the license. That's why that's the goal. We just want everybody to have more fun playing a better game. And we want you to create shit for it. And we want you to be able to share it. And we want you to be able to make money off of it. Why not? Why wouldn't we? The Dice Society, what's up? Dice Society has one of the two ongoing podcasts about the game. There's the Dice Society and Goblin Points, our two podcasts, and they're both up on YouTube, and they just follow development. They're in the Patreon, and they just make a podcast about what's going on with the game. Kevlar's is their modding plan for the VTT. So yeah, a lot of the VTT is implemented in Lua on purpose. It's a decision DM Hub made, which we support. It's one of the reasons we like those guys, is because we like the decisions they make, because they want people to be able to make their own shit. There are 3 podcasts now. Care to share your journey about learning how to be a company director? Did any places I went to learn the practicalities of owning my own business? Well, yeah, I went to Last Unicorn Games, Decipher, Wizards of the Coast, Pandemic Studios, and Turtle Rock Studios. It is a very fucking weird type for an old school wanker like me, a typeless language where an array can be a Boolean. I get it, but part of my brain is like, blah, blah, blah. I spent a lot of time in Lua in my 30s. That's a good question, Experiment. So it's trial by error being a company director. We've had problems. We've had real problems here at MCDM because I did not act when I should have. You know, if every single person, or let's say every single person but one on the team is complaining about something and only I can fix it, I got to fucking fix it. I got to take the bull by the horns, because what happens is if I try to avoid conflict and avoid tackling difficult problems because it makes me personally uncomfortable, what it does is it damages my relationship with my employees, because they're like, Matt, do something about this. And I have worked at companies where I'm like, everyone thought that one person, and I'm thinking of a specific person in a specific company I worked at. Like, I thought that person was cool because I'm not in their department. I don't work in their department. So I like this person. I got along great with them. But when I would talk to everyone else in their department, they'd be like, oh, Christ, that guy. And it's like, yeah, that person's nice, but they don't get their shit done. And they make our jobs way fucking harder. And I watched this happen live because I knew all these people, where the owners, the people would complain to the lead. And then the lead, because the lead did not take this job because they like interpersonal conflict. They took the job because they like being an animator or a programmer or whatever, and they're really good at it, and they like the authority of the company. They're like, I'll take care of it, and then they don't do anything because they don't say anything, because, or maybe they just talk to that person, nothing happens, and then eventually they got to fire that person. They got to fire them. You know, and the owners of the company, and this is a relatively flat organization. This is not like the owners of the company are in a different building. They sit next to us. They're sitting right there, right? They're in the muck with the rest of us. The owners of the company are like, we had no idea that guy was a problem. Like, what? How did you not know? Well, because this one person wasn't communicating it upward. And that's a problem. So that's probably been the biggest issue with running this company. Is also the flip side is learning how to censor myself, learning how to, you know, think things and not say them, because even though it might be true, it wouldn't be useful. A lot of these people that work here are my friends, but we never use any of that bullshit language about how, like, we're all a family. No, we're not. We're a company. We're a company of intelligent, motivated people who, many of whom have enormous experience. All of us, everybody here has enormous experience and skills and talents, and they have come together to make something together. And ideally, if we do a good job and if the audience comes with us, we all get to buy houses. That's the phrase I use for success. I said, if we play our cards right, and nobody gets greedy, nobody in this case would be me. And so far it's been 6 years and plenty of opportunities and things are going pretty well in this department. The rising tide really will lift all boats. We pay out crazy fucking bonuses. Because we just do rev share. We're like, look, every product has to pay for itself. Draw Steel has to pay for itself. Draw Steel has to pay for itself. So all of our back catalog, all the products we've made up until then, they still sell. They sell more now than they used to. And we just take that money and we go, here we go, divide it up amongst everybody. Put some of it in the bank so that we have a war chest, and the rest of it gets divided up. So these are lessons that we've learned, and we can all be in this together, and we can all pull in the same direction. But all that language about how we're really a family, that's all manipulative bullshit language. We're not. We're a group of people that came together to make a product, and ideally more products that are better. So learning how to be the boss has largely been about learning when and how to compromise. I could have been Steve Jobs. And I have it in me to be Steve Jobs, where it's like, either do it my way or get the fuck out of here. Either do what I want or get out. I will replace you with somebody who will. I absolutely have that in me. But the people I hired are really fucking good at their jobs. They are as good at their jobs as I am at mine. That's how they got the gig. So what's the point of telling them what to do? Right? I want to know what they think. Every time Jason, our art director, tries to please me first, he ends up compromising so much that I don't like what he did. Like, I'm like, that squid dude, that's a person with arms and legs and bones. And he goes, oh, I thought that's what I'm like, no, man, make it fucking weird. Make it way weirder than their squid people. He's like, okay. And what he came up with, you can see it in Flea Mortals. The voiceless talkers, the Sin Leroy, are fucking cool. And that's completely original Jason nonsense. And it's learning okay, this is what I want. How do I explain that in such a way that it motivates other people to be like, yeah, that's cool? Because if I can't, it's that thing Barack Obama said. He was at a church. If your unique religious principles, if you cannot translate those principles into universal truths, then you should not be trying to legislate them, right? That's my job. If I can't take the shit I love and express it to the team in such a way that it motivates them to want to work on it, then we shouldn't be making it. That is a ongoing lesson. I will never learn that lesson. It's something that I'm always having to, it's like you can't just tie the rudder of the boat to one of the masts and then go to bed for 2 weeks and wake up at your destination. You have to be constantly course correcting. You have to constantly be changing the sails to catch the wind. It never stops. So those are the big lessons, is when there's a problem, an interpersonal problem, when somebody's not working out, fucking rip off the Band-Aid, because if you don't, the people who are paying for it, the people who are working with that person and they're not happy, they're gonna, I'm damaging my relationship with them. So I have to be responsible. I have to be an adult. And I have learned that I can do that. And also the flip side of it is learning how to lead learning how to govern rather than rule. I could have been the Steve Jobs iron rule and iron fist, but I would not have enjoyed that and no one would have liked working with me. So instead, it's more about, okay, you don't like this. Why? What do you like? What do you like? Give me something to work with. If I write something in the fiction and somebody on the team is like, why do we have to say this? I'm like, no, we don't have to say anything. I understand. Like, don't tell me what you didn't like about it. That's not usually useful. What would you like it to say? What inspires you? What do you think would be cool to put here? I ripped something off. So a recent example is I ripped something off. I do it all the time. But I usually rip things off that are from the 20th century, not the 21st century. That's not a hard and fast rule, but it's mostly old shit. I rip stuff off. I'm like, that is a fucking cool idea from a movie or a game that's from the 80s or the 90s or the 70s that no one knows about anymore. And I don't want that idea to die in obscurity. I want it to live and people to see it. So let's grab it and stick it in the game. And there was an instance where somebody on the team was like, I do not like how closely our ripoff is to the original. And I'm like, oh, okay, well, let's talk about it. Right. And I really liked this. That's why I stole stole it. I stole it because I loved it and I wanted to drive it, or I wanted to do stuff with it. And I'm like, okay, but they're like, does it have to be X, Y, and Z? Because that's 1, 2, 3 in a row. That's exactly what it was like in that original thing. And I'm like, it doesn't have to be that at all. What exactly was it? And so like, what if it was this? What if it was that? And they're like, oh, that's fucking cool. I'm like, there you go. There you go. Because I think that's cool too. And you think that's cool. And now we both get what we want. Right? That's that. There's probably 1 million characters you would like playing in this campaign, right? It can work however you want it to work. But then every once in a while, I got to put my foot down and be like, no. We're doing this because I think it's cool. That is the reason I have this company. That is the reason I work here. So if you don't want to draw this, or if you don't want, that's fine. We'll get somebody else to do it. Well, that's fine. You don't have to do it, but I'm putting my foot down here. And then usually, because if I do a good job, and so far I think I've done an okay job, the people I'm talking to have seen me compromise so many times and listen to them and make sure that their shit is in here and the things they like are in here. They go, okay, well, I'll do my best to give you what you want. That's all I asked. And that happens like 1 out of every 20 times. It's no, I want this. This is me. Like, I don't want to, it would be dwarves. Like if no one else on the team thought dwarves were cool and they were like, we don't even need dwarves. I'm like, no, dwarves are fucking cool and I like them. So we're doing them. Come to grips with it. Okay, fine. Right. I picked an example that's ridiculous, but that's in the ballpark. Is this an interesting stream? I think this has been a pretty good stream. Yeah, Jonathan Herzog. You know what I read in The Elusive Shift? I'm going to do a whole, I'm going to do at least an entire video on The Elusive Shift, maybe more than one. John Peterson, Jon. John Peterson, The Elusive Shift. It is the best book I've ever read on the history of this hobby. It really changed how I think about what counts as old school gaming and what we collectively should think of when we think of old school gaming. But in The Elusive Shift, there was a moment in one of these APAs, one of these zines. We went over this. If you missed the Twitch stream where we went over this, holy shit, what are you people doing? You don't get to complain about, you're just being picky. Oh, he's on Twitch instead of YouTube. Well, but I'm live and you can hang out. I'm just not where you would like me to be. I'm sorry, but this is where I like to be. People are like, look, it's not, now you're just being picky. Which from my point of view means don't complain. But this dude, Dennis Sustare, and I was like, gold star to the person who says, why is this dude's last name significant? And somebody's like, holy shit, it's the Chariot of Sustari. I'm like, yeah, that's this guy. He wrote a fucking essay in Different Worlds. Oh no, it's not him. It's Clint Bigglestone. Is that not a 70s D&D role playing and how to do it? And this thing fucking rocked. It rocked the player base in 1978 or whenever this came out, 1979. And we went through this. I had a camera over it and we were reading this thing live. Robin Beckett's like, Matt, I'll have you know, I bought that zine and have a physical copy of it in my home. And this is at a time when people were fumbling with, trying to wrap their head around, trying to grasp what is this hobby we have created and how do you do it? And how do you do it better than somebody else? And it was like a major crisis. And there's a reason for it. There's a reason why the initial hobby, and even still today, was so fragmented. And it comes down to what happened in 1974. I'm not going to spoil it for you because you will find John Peterson's conclusion way more convincing if you read The Elusive Shift than if I just fucking tell you about it. So very strongly urge you to read The Elusive Shift. But this dude is writing an article about how to roleplay, how to do it. Now that this whole category of game has existed for 5 years, what have we learned? How can we synthesize everything we've learned and put it into one essay? And lots of people tried this. Glenn Blackout tried it. Greg Kostikian tried it. And they met with various degrees of success, and this guy did it. And it's all about playing somebody who's not you. Breaking out of that, what they called ego tripping, power gaming. I want to play me, except more powerful, right? It's like, no, play somebody else. And eventually, I'm reading this whole article, and it's not going to be as convincing to you folks because I'm not reading the whole thing. I'm getting directly to the punchline. When he's like, as you get comfortable with the fact that you could play somebody else, somebody who's not you, somebody that's not like you at all, as you get comfortable with that, you're going to get excited to try more stuff, which is absolutely what happened, by the way. This all happened in my gaming group in the 80s. We were teenagers, and we started off as hack and slash power gamers. But after like 18 months of playing several times a week, we got bored with that. We got bored with it. And we started layering on complexity. We were still teenagers, but we were layering on things like politics, romance, subplot, characters that were 2-dimensional, characters that were 3-dimensional, interpersonal relationships, soap opera nonsense. We started layering all that shit in, and we were excited because we were discovering what could be done with this art form, this unique and new art form. And that's what this article is about. And then he fucking drops this fucking bombshell. Let's face it, 2 individuals of the same gender from 2 different cultures often have more in common with each other than 2 individuals of the same culture but different genders. Now, that's not a universal truth, but on a case-by-case basis, it can absolutely be true. When you take this step, and it's a big one, don't go it alone. Talk to your spouse, lover, sibling, parent, friend about what it's like to be of their sex. This is 1979! I think there's about 30,000 people on Twitter that need to hear this. Ask how they react to the common situations, remarks, conflicts. Find out what are those common circumstances for them. For those who are straight or gay, take the same step. For those who are straight or gay, take the same step in regards to communicating with your gay and or straight friends and relatives. That way, not only do you get to know how to play your character, you also get to spend a little time, a few steps maybe, in another person's shoes. Right? He's saying literally go talk, say, ask, this is philosophy 101. Ask, what's it like to be a girl? And you'd be surprised at what a stupid question that is. You'd be surprised, like, what's it like to be gay? You'd be surprised at what just a dumb fucking question that is. Until it's not. Right? And I've done this. People are like, what do you mean, what's it like? It's like, I eat, I get hungry, I sleep. It's dumb. It's a dumb question. But then you talk, and it's like, for example I use is like, you don't need to know, this is very personal to me, you don't need to know that many women that well before all of a sudden they start telling you the most harrowing shit. And I'm like, holy fuck, that happened to you? Like, what do you mean? It happened to me all the time. It happened to me on the way here. And I was like, are you fucking kidding me? I'm like, hold on. The metaphorical hat on my head goes and flips over, right? So yeah, it starts off as being, that's ridiculous. What do you mean, was it like? But then when you dig, you discover, oh, this person is having a very different experience in this society than I am, right? And absolutely, that's part of the fun of role playing, is playing somebody who's not you. You already play you 24 hours a day, right? We have better opportunities in this thing. So anyway, I think this shit is brilliant. The elusive shift is brilliant. It prompted me to buy something that was legendary even when I was a kid. Like when I started playing D&D, I already knew about this, and I'd seen a friend of mine have a photocopy of it and used it in his game. So if we got to high enough level, which we didn't do, we could have cast 10th level spells. Oh, absolutely. Harmonic Hewell says, growing up with sisters opens your eyes to the world in a way that I would never have learned organically. My kind of more provincial way of doing it is, when I was in high school, my 2 best friends were each other's brother, Craig and Chris. And I just had lunch with Craig yesterday. They were my best friends, right? I spent an enormous amount of time with them, and I was an only child. I still am. I was an only child. I had no brothers or sisters. And being friends with Chris and Craig, I was like, I could not believe the shit they said to each other on a daily basis. When they got angry at each other, and these were 17-year-olds, when they got angry at each other, shit went from 0 to thermonuclear detonation of every atom in the universe in 20 seconds. I couldn't believe it. But why? Why? Because they've known each other literally their entire lives. Any normal insult that might work on me, oh, that's when they were 5. That's when they were 5. Now they got to go to the big red button. They got to say if they want to upset the other one, they know how to push each other's buttons. And I would always be like, oh my God, you can't say that. You can't say that to anybody ever under any circumstance, right? So I learned a lot about what it was like to have a brother, to have a sibling. I had, and I remember it wasn't my first girlfriend, but it was my first, like, kind of Romeo and Juliet. Oh my God. Like, we were so obsessed with each other. We could no longer detect where one of us started and the other one stopped. And she and I talked a lot about what it was like growing up in our families, what it was like going to school, her going to a Catholic school as a girl. And we were mind melding. She's like, years later, we would talk about how she's like, I feel like I know what it was like growing up as an only child. There's a great line in a Terry Pratchett book, not a surprise, where Granny Weatherwax, if you don't know who these characters are, get out. Where Granny Weatherwax is like to Nanny Ogg, her best friend, she's like, you don't know what it's like being me, and you never will. There's a universal truth, and it cannot be missed. It's obvious. It's axiomatic. You do not know what it's like to be me. And Nanny Ogg says, no, and I never will. But looking in your eyes right now, I feel like I might sort of get a glimpse of it. right? And that is such an important point, is that, no, you're right. I do not know what it's like to be Natalie. I don't know what it's actually like, but I have gotten a read on it. I have learned a lot. I have some experience of it. I can smell it. I know what it tastes like. I have not walked a mile in that person's shoes. I do not literally know what it is like to be them, but I am a human being, and therefore nothing human can be truly alien to me. And that's that contradiction, that I cannot know what it's like to be somebody else, but yet I sort of feel like I do know what it was like to be this person or that person because of that friendship and that connection that goes beyond language, that gets into that, whatever you want to call it, that part of being a human being that we all understand, but none of us can really talk. We can understand it and we can know it, but we can't really talk about it. Language is an imperfect tool and won't do it. I think that's part and parcel of what it means to, anyway, what was I talking about? Xanthox, you're going to have a great time. Thanks for watching, everybody. Yeah, the elusive shift fucking, there's bits of it that you won't be interested in. That's fine. But just keep plowing through and you'll be like, oh, this is fucking amazing. What? Holy shit. And then you get to his conclusion at the end of that book. And I was like, this dude just changed how I thought about the history of RPGs forever. Thanks for watching, folks. I don't know when the next time we'll see each other is. I'm not a professional streamer. I'm not a professional, a lot of things. I was talking about the Arduin Grimoire. This is a legendary expansion for D&D, except that's not really true. It wasn't an expansion for D&D. It was a way to play D&D. That's what these things were. This is something I've learned, is that these things, these zines, they weren't supplements for D&D. They were ways to play D&D. And sometime this week, maybe tomorrow, I don't know, I've got the camera right here. We're gonna read through the Arduin Grimoire. Somewhere in here is a spell called Toth Amon's Organ Request, which is a 10th level spell. And we're gonna need a magnifying glass because fuck off. This is the thing, is I saw the Arduin Grimoire I saw was a photocopy, a friend of mine, that was blown up to 8.5 by 11. And you could tell it was blown up. You could see all the artifacting and everything. But I'm like, well, thank fuck, because even when I was 17, I need a magnifying glass. Anyway, thanks for watching, folks. Again, I don't know when the next time we'll see each other is, but come by the Twitch stream. Come on by the Twitch stream. Any of the questions you asked, you didn't get answered here. I stream on Twitch a couple times a week. It's twitch.tv/Matthew_Colville. Matthew_Colville. And just click the heart and you'll get an alert when I go live, and you can ask whatever you want. We talk about everything. Or come by the Discord. If you have actual questions about running games and you're looking for advice, I'm all out. All my advice is in videos now, thank God. So if you need anything else, I think the Discord is a great, amazing community thanks to our mods. Mods, Maldubious, Robin Baggett, I don't know if you're modded in here. Thank you so much for all the fucking work you folks do to make this community as awesome as it is. Everybody in this chat, everybody in the community owes you folks a debt of gratitude. And until next time, be seeing you.